Okay, so I haven't made a video in a while. I'm back. I am ready to just continue sharing little tips on little teachings on my walk, and with hopes of inspiring others. More importantly, giving others insight as it pertains to things that they would never be able to touch upon, given that it was given to me. So might as well share it. It's best to share it with others. Okay, so a lot of my videos, especially at the end, have been in well, at the beginning, it had more to do with giving out the message on um, how this perverse teaching on marriage has is basically the perverse teaching on marriage is the tests, like the tests of Adam and Eve, the apple. People would not have in a million years think, oh, if you eat this apple, this would all these things would have occurred, but it did. Same thing with this thing. Certain people they would never believe in a million years that if you think that same-sex unions are good, that all these bad things will happen to them. But in the end, they will see that that's what's exactly what's going to happen to them, because at the end of the day, what you're doing, you're deciding between good and evil, and Satan and God. And when you reject God's way, you go towards evil way. But the problem with it's short term. There's short term gratification. But when he already has you, it's there's no more like then when it's all revealed, it really doesn't matter unless you repent and reverse your way of thinking and as I had to do. But all right, let me just get to um my portion, my confession. And all right, so one thing that I learned on my walk while I'm walking as it pertains to bettering my eyes, because really essentially what happens on the walk with God is that your eyes get better. And as your eyes get better, wisdom increases, which ultimately changes your perspective. So for me, my issue was the fact that I uh, practiced homosexuality. I lived a life very sinfully. I lived a crazy life, very, very crazy. And as I walked, I one thing I confessed to myself, I said that I'm not going to just say that I um, no longer have a desire when it's still there. I'm going to be honest with myself. So I would walk, believe in the word and everything that is said, but then I would, as I walk, I'm like, this hasn't changed. What is going on? Something I'm missing something. I just knew I just kept thinking I'm missing something. I kept missing something. And I just kept walking, believing in the word, but still being honest with myself and what was on my heart at the time. And as you keep walking and and it's very scary because you expect things to happen at a certain time and but that's not how it works. And this is where the test comes, because the test is what happens when you get to the place where you expect something to happen on that day, that hour, that minute, and it doesn't happen. What are you gonna do? So that's when you have to be stronger than ever. That's when you have to know what's happening in that moment. And a lot of times people just end up giving up, and that's when their blessings are, and that's when you really get to see God's power, and that's when your faith really gets strong. That's when you really learn to trust. And so I had to learn that, and that took a very long time to for me to get that. But a part of the walk, and it's just so reminiscent of the song "Oceans" that everyone. It's a very popular Christian song, um, where you base the premise of the story is Peter walking on water, and a part of the walk, our walk is walking on water, having faith, and you walk with God. You might fall, but guess what? He's going to pull you back up. But within all that, when he gets you back up, what happens in that moment? You believe, you trust him, you have faith in him. So that's essentially what the walk is about. And you get put in situations and circumstances that you are uncomfortable, circumstances that you're uncomfortable. You may fall a time or two, but guess what? If you get back up and you believe and you trust the word that he can get you through, that he can make your eyes better, that this false barrier that has been created in your life, this illusion of fear that has been created in your life, if you believe that he can help you overcome, that's exactly what will happen. And sometimes it just requires you coming there with an open heart, humble heart, and trying to figure out what is it that he's trying to show you, what is it that he's trying to explain to you, what is it, why is it this feeling when you're in this circumstance, what is happening. And some people are completely oblivious to these things, and it's just important to, if you're resting all day, every minute, every second, every hour, you'll always be aware and paying attention to the things that are going around you, what's being said, what's being not said, and you'll never ever like look at life the same once you're on the walk. It's impossible. You'll never look at people the same. And even if you do, you'll still revert back to how God sees life. It's just impossible to be on this walk and look at life the way you looked at life before. So your past means like absolutely nothing. Like you don't think about it. You don't want to go back there because you know that prior to your commitment and your submission to God, you were lost. He got you out of a very dark, funky situation. So, anyways, back to my confession because I didn't want this video to be too long. My confession is basically my issue or the problem that I had that I'm almost certain that most people have the exact issue and they are not conscious and or aware of it. That is what drives the problem or the situation. Many people, like men, women, whoever you are, you develop desires, but these desires are not, these are false desires, but these desires are not only false desires, but these desires are ungodly. These desires are not of God, and you're aware of that. But then you're like, how is it possible to get rid of desires that you don't want? How is it possible to get rid of thoughts that you don't want? Like I mentioned many times before in my other videos, desires and thoughts are all spiritual. So if you have a desire on your heart, just look to the guy to the left or the guy to the right. Yes, you're different from that person, but if that person to your left doesn't have those same desires as you have, that is possible. It is possible that you too can no longer have those same desires and have the same desires as that person has, because we all are created from the same God, the one and only true God. And if you believe that, you walk and you trust eventually as you walk, and you walk fearlessly, knowing his word, knowing where you are, but realizing he's here. This is where he stands. This is where you are, and this is where you aspire to be there. And but you know that it's going to take time. You know it's going to take effort of being honest with yourself, confessing, repenting, rebuking, speaking, going into that spiritual war and that battle, and knowing that you are going to become victorious, not on your own strength, but because God is going to be there with you and he's walking with you. When he's walking with you, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing on this earth to fear when God Almighty is with you. And it took a while for me to see that. And this journey in and of itself is just such a powerful one that you, at the end, at the conclusion, typically you just feel so worthless. You're like, crap. You'll never quite think you've done enough or anywhere close to, you're not deserving. And that's just what's fact. And so when you see other people criticizing others, it's like, how can you criticize somebody else when you're, how can you criticize somebody else for their walk when no one is deserving of it? No one is deserving of no one is deserving of blessings and all this stuff, but because of grace and mercy, we're able to overcome. And let me just make it clear, when I say criticize, there's a difference between showing someone love by telling them what is the fact and what is truth, whether they want to hear it or not, versus criticizing someone without bringing them up. Never look down on somebody unless you're trying to pull them up. And that's what has been reiterated in my mind, in my heart, because I too was one of those people that would look down on someone and not um, try to rectify the situation. And so I had to correct that. And I'm still in the process. This walk it's a forever walk. And the reason why it's a forever walk is because of the fact that we will never know it all. And once you don't know it all, there could be a situation or circumstance that you could make a mistake. And making a mistake could be a fall. And that fall could be forever. So as you walk with God's light shining and with hopes of not falling into temptation, not falling into any pit, because there are many. Every day you walk, every day you leave your home, you're out there with wolves. You're out there with vultures. People are ready to attack and eat you alive. And you need full armor. You need full armor, and if you don't have full armor, your life is it's gonna be some torment involved there. And they're gonna come into your space, especially if you're oblivious to what is happening. Anyways, I still haven't said my confession. Sorry. So basically, on my walk, my issue was the fact that I had all these insecurities about myself, whether that be how I looked physically, whether that be how other people treated me, and all of these things that I was once insecure about, they became the things that I desired. And I'll give an example. Something that I was insecure about. So this might seem so superficial, but this is honest. I wasn't. I can't believe I have to say this. I will. Sorry, I'm going through it right now because it's so embarrassing to talk about things that are just so not only superficial but so ungodly. But at the same time, you realize the importance of talking about it because it can affect somebody in a positive way. So one of my desires or one of my insecurities was my butt. I wanted to have. I always thought that like I could have a, I guess, bigger butt, more, because I was never like no, you know what? A better one would probably be my weight. I think that might make more sense because it would put things in perspective. So yeah, I was never too happy with my weight, and that stemmed from someone that I cared about at the time saying something or calling me like names, like just name calling, and it affected me in a negative way because I believed that. I started to believe what he was saying to me, and because of that, it affected me in a negative way. But then also, what that did, that insecurity, then became something that I desired. Not only, and when I realized that I wasn't hitting that goal as it pertains to myself personally, I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be physically. Not only did I go to the gym, I started going to the gym like every day, all day, for years to get to a place where like I am now satisfied. But what happened there was I started to desire people who looked that way. And the interesting thing is, and this is how the mind works, if you have evil work in your mind. You can have it all. Everything gets twisted and turned and perverse. So while it might be normal for people, guys, because guys, I'm pretty sure they do, guys typically see other guys who are in the gym and who are fit and they're like, damn, you look good. I would like to look like that. But you see, that's where it stops. They don't add more to it, where it's like, damn, I desire how you look physically, but I don't desire you. And that's where it turned into me translating the desire to look like this person or these people, turning into the desire for them. And it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to be with them, but it was because I wanted to look like them. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that's exactly what it came down to. And I'll explain how it came down to that, because the minute I got to where I wanted to be physically, no longer did I care about those people that looked the way they looked. They didn't change how they looked physically, but all of a sudden I no longer cared about them. And it's a interesting phenomenon that happens in the mind. But I had to learn that. And I walked and I realized that as soon as you get what you desire, there is no need. Like, as soon as you get what you desire, you realize that in the mind, you realize either it's not cooked up to what it used to be, and therefore the desire for that then dissipates and or leaves. But you can have like a mind where you believe that those desires are completely fine, and those desires that you have are not deep rooted. That's the issue. The desires are so deep rooted that you don't realize that those desires, behind those desires, the root of it, at the core and the root of your desires, are insecurities. So when you realize that the reason why you like this over that is because you're lacking in some way these certain things, then it changes your perspective on and that's essentially what has been occurring over the last few months. Just being honest with myself, seeing those insecurities that I had, and getting to a place where those insecurities no longer existed. And when I got to the place where when I got to the place where I no longer was insecure about those things, the desire for the people that had those things that I once was insecure about left. And then it changed my perspective, because I realized, oh crap. So I was never, I don't deny the fact that I committed acts, but the desire was rooted from a different place. It was rooted from a place of insecurity. And I say that because it's obviously important that people recognize how any insecurity that one has, can turn into a sin. It starts off with just an insecurity, a barrier that you create. And then that barrier then becomes something that you desire. That desire then becomes something that you go for. And then you commit sins. And then God comes into your life. And then that becomes something that you fear. You want to stay away from it, and because you know that according to the word, it's wrong. But then you then on your side, you're like, but my heart still desires this. It's not gone. I've not been, these desires have not been removed. These thoughts have not been removed. So how does this work? Like, I can't live my life just saying that I'm free of this, I'm free of that, when that's not accurate. So then you just walk, and then you start seeing your eyes get better. You start seeing circumstances that you've once been in where you would act a certain way or have the desire a certain way. um, you see, it even if it might still be there, it's less than what it was before, and you just keep on walking. You just keep on walking. And the trick is this: think of somebody who you would never, ever, ever want to have some sort of sexual desire for, some sort of sexual relation. Someone, it's because everyone has something in someone they would never be physically attracted to. That's just the way we are made up. And then think of somebody who you would have a desire for. And the logic is this: you have to have the same eyes that you have for this person as you have for this person. And essentially, what happens is that he bridges the gap little by little, bridges the gap little by little. Before you know it, both are in the same category, and that feeling, those thoughts, those lingering thoughts, 5 seconds later, when you see someone and then you have that dragging on thoughts, that no longer exists. That gets washed out of your way. And I made a video about this, talking about, I don't remember the title, but explaining the process and how it works. And it's interesting that, like, I'm able to, I'm grateful. Let me just back up. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to explain the process, because people think that it's just some sort of, let me tap you on your forehead and then your life is completely changed. No, it's a walk. It's a process that you have to walk through, and you have to understand what's happening, and just bring all glory, honor, and praise back to the Lord, because at the end of the day, He's the one that is doing the deliverance. He's the one that's making your eyes better, because prior to Him, you were stuck. Prior to Him, you were lost. Prior to Him, you would do this, that, and the other. And the only difference is now the desire to do something is no longer there. Another example, and maybe I've used this one before. I'm not a fan of broccoli. Prior to, it's almost comparable to me not liking broccoli. How do I explain this? All right, so me not liking, sorry. Oh, I went way too long. I didn't want to go this long on this video. Maybe I'll just save my broccoli analogy for another time. Thank you guys for listening. I hope that it helps someone out there better their walk, and more importantly, understand that the walk, scientifically, it's a lot less people thinking where it's like God just snapping His fingers and just everything is gone. No, it's an actual walk where He's teaching you, and I am a testimony. I'm a witness to this fact. I am walking through this process right now. I'm currently walking firm in His word, and there's a lot of falling involved, but at the same time, through each fall, it just confirms, like, you had those desires. You cannot deny that you had those desires. You cannot deny that you had those thoughts. You cannot deny that you had all these things happening. So when those things are removed, it's so clear, it's clear as day, that you can't not know that it was God that had His hands there, that removed that from you. You see, so it's like there's no room to be like, oh, I did this on my own. No, because you know what you were doing prior to, you see? And so that's essentially what it is. Any questions, any concerns, any way I can help, I would like to just want to be honest and help those who are truly seeking to go in the opposite direction of society. A lot of times people think that following society is the best route, and there's this false logic of love wins and all these different things. But the reality is this: you can love everybody, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to abandon the word. You trust the word and you try to make sense of it. You go through your walk and you put all your eggs in that basket, and you submit, and guess what? Things can start happening that man could never do for you. God can do, and he's shown me this. I'm a testimony to this. I have so many videos testifying to the love and his grace and his mercy, and he's been so grateful. I mean, he's been so merciful towards me, and I'm blessed to call him my God, Elohim, forever and ever. I'm honored. So I hope that someone out there feels the same way. God bless. Take care.